Hello and welcome to Dragonheart. Sorry about that. We are live for the first time today. And today I am joined by the singing commentator Neil Williams and Disney's own Mark Griffiths. How are you doing today, guys?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, even though after the loss on Tuesday, I'm pretty happy with the situation at the moment. We've got a game, we get home tomorrow, we've then got the FA Cup game. Yeah, it was a loss at Notts County, but we're going to have those along the way. We're not, as I said previously, we're not going to win every game. And we're going to have bumps along the road. And, I'm pretty happy. We'll have a good win again tomorrow. There'll be plenty of goals at the racecourse tomorrow. Well, hopefully. Mark, anything to add to that?
How am I today? Well, fame. I'm going to live forever. I'm going to learn how to fly high. I see it coming together. Now I'm Disney's Mark Griffiths. Nothing could go wrong, quite frankly.
Well, it's all gone to Mark's head. This.
Totally, yeah.
Totally.
He's had a special part of that episode against Dover, and that commentary was amazing, Mark, I must say. But, yeah, it's all gone to his head. But anyway, today we're going to break down the Oldham games and our experiences there. Neil was fortunate to be in the stands, and me and Mark covered the game. We're also going to break down the Notts County game. We're going to carry on with our rivalry section. We're going to be talking about Tranmere. Is it a rivalry? Is it not a rivalry? You guys decide. Maybe we'll do a poll after. And we've got a few other bits and bobs to talk about. So yeah, this is Dragonheart.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, Oldham. Wow. That's all I've got to say about that. That was a crazy...
It's a short segment now then, Jay.
Yeah, it was a crazy game of football, and, the first 75 minutes, Neil, at times...
Tactically, we got it totally wrong, I think, in the first half of the game, and, as soon as we brought all our subs on, it made a huge difference to our play. We were a lot more aggressive, we closed them down, we shut them down, we looked a lot more dangerous going forward, and we created lots of chances, and we all know what happened at the end of the day. We had that great goal from Tozer, it was his error that gave them their goal, and then right on the dying death, poor Luke Young, I sing his praises every week because he's such a good player, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. He went in for that header, when he had no right to get there. The defender was silly, put his foot up, caught him in the face, straight penalty. Mullin, cool as a cucumber, slotted the ball in the back of the net. Fans go wild behind the goal, and I've never experienced anything like it as a fan for many, many years, being a Wrexham fan, following them away.
Well, we're going to talk about our experiences just after we break down the game, but Mark, the first half at times was really entertaining, wasn't it? It was quite an open game, but also very frustrating to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a bit of a stuck record sometimes, but again, this is a case of the opposition are allowed to play well against us, and I thought Oldham in the first half did really well for their terrific energy. They really pressed us intelligently, they got behind the ball when they had to, and we really found it difficult to break them down. We were quite laboured in the way that we tried to do that. Having said that, I think that you were quite right in the commentary saying they will tire in the second half, and I think there were a lot of factors that played into us getting control of the game, but that was part of it. They had really worked hard in the first half and they tired. I think the other element that turned it in our favour was just playing the percentages. They've got a defence of talented, I think, young lads on loan from higher divisions. We saw when Dean Saunders was manager, and he tries to do that constantly. That, quite frankly, those players make mistakes. They're learning, and they had a 45 minutes of all-out defence. I thought they defended well, but then ultimately there were a couple of silly mistakes in the build-up to the first goal, and there was silly mistakes include with the penalty, not least, as you say, trying to volley the ball clear when Luke Young is standing underneath it. not the smartest move. So I think a combination of their maybe lack of experience and was what let us come back into the game. That and just the fact, like I say, young lads tire.
Well, you said that under Dean Saunders and what have you, when we were, just got into the conference, that Oldham really struck me as a very similar side to us when we first come down. They've had a few experienced players at that level. They look a bit all over the place on and off the pitch, don't they, in some regards. But first half, Neil, they looked a really good side.
Yeah, it's a big learning curve for them. Everybody comes to this division thinking, they're going to walk it, and it's not the case. It's a really tough division to get out of, as we all know. We've tried on a couple of occasions to get out and failed. Look, hopefully this year is going to be our year that we get promoted automatically and not through the playoffs. But Oldham first half totally dominated us. They shut us down very quickly. They were very quick over on the break with the ball over the top, with the ex-Wrexham striker playing for them and running onto the ball, and he had some pace, I was surprised he played so well for them when he never played well for us at Wrexham. But he took their first goal excellently. The keeper didn't have a chance. Second half, but as I said, as Mark said, they put a lot of effort into that first half to gain control of the game, which they did, and it was inevitable that they were going to tie, even though they're a full-time squad. You could see they're going to tie because of the amount of running down the done of us, and we brought substitutes on at the right time with fresh legs. The pace quickened up a bit. We were a bit slicker with our passing, and we caused them lots of problems, and that's when they started to panic. The more we tried to press them, the more they panicked, and they gave away a lot of fouls, which a lot of their fans were saying, it shouldn't have been a foul, the referee was on our side. But I totally disagree. I thought the ref had a very good game on last Saturday, and he gave everything, either way, what was needed. But yeah, it was inevitable they were going to tie because of the amount of effort they put into the first half, and as Mark said, inexperience caused them the game, to be honest.
Well, I'm going to have to challenge you on the referee thing, because me and Mark, and as you say, when you're sitting as a fan watching a game and you're sitting as commentating, you see two different things sometimes, don't you? I thought the referee was poor. Really, he should have got his cards out a lot quicker. I don't think they were protecting the Wrexham players or the Oldham players. I think he was a bit.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that point, but for, giving free kicks, I think it was very fair, but yeah, he was very slow on pulling any cards out. I mean, did he give one yellow card or two yellow cards the whole game?
We got one, didn't we? Yeah.
But there was handbags in the middle of the first half as well, wasn't there?
When Molly went down, was it?
Yeah.
As a referee, for you, is that a red card?
Having looked at the replays a few times, I think no, but I've seen people get sent off for that, if you see what I mean. I mean, when Tollett was sort of charging across, that's what Tyler French did when he got sent off in his debut at Eastleigh. Just running across aggressively to get involved. It was a chest-to-chest contact, and Mullen made a lot of it, but it's a daft thing to do. But I mean, it's just little things like the initial foul, the fouled player grabs hold of the ball.
Yeah.
But it's not a foul, therefore it's deliberate handball. It should be a yellow card straight away.
Yeah.
So I thought his decision making was pretty good, but his actual, the cards he was giving out, he was far too lenient, and that does affect the game because there were a lot of tactical fouls in midfield by Oldham to try and stop us getting forwards. Well, it's difficult to do that when you're on a yellow card, isn't it?
Yeah,
100%. And that back to that Paul Mullin, tussle or whatever it was. If that was the Premier League with VAR, that would have been a red card.
I think quite possibly. Yeah.
But I also do think on the flip side, you look at the National League reffing and Premier League reffing, and the game itself, National League and Premier League, it's two, sometimes, Mark, it's like two different sports.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said about, in the Premier League it becomes a red card because of VAR. VAR, I think, changes the way that games are officiated, which I don't think is terribly healthy for football. You got almost two-track decision-making processes. There are fouls that get given by VAR because they pick up a little bit of contact that at a normal level with a normal ref judging it by what he sees, it isn't a foul. So it does bother me slightly that.
But how do we answer this refereeing problem then? Because there is
robot referees.
Robot referees would be perfect.
With eyes in the back of the head.
Yeah, but
card dispensing slots, to give out cards.
I hear pundits say VAR is not the answer. We should go back to how it was. Then we do. They're obviously not watching football at lower league level because there is some shocking decisions, and they, the same pundits, the ones who were calling for VAR 5 or 10 years ago.
I think VAR, I think it's got some good points, it should stop players committing fouls that they may well have done before and got away with, but it hasn't got rid of all the shirt pulling or whatever, which is what really annoys me in our league, and the refs never pull up on it.
Just pulling your shirt just to see what the reaction would be. We could be good at it. So Calon FM destroyed.
The number of times you see the shirts being pulled at corners and grabbed hold of, and was it the Oldham game where he actually got through to the ground, or was it last weekend's the game week before where our defender actually got through to the ground, and I can't remember who it was, but there's so much goes. You keep saying, Mark, he'll blow his whistle when we take the corner and he'll stop the play to sort out what's going on in a penalty area, and you always say let them get on with it and let them and I totally agree with you that that's what, but I guess it's the directive they received from the powers that be. So to let a free-flowing game, yes, there should have been a lot more yellow cards. I didn't think Mullin was a red card on Saturday. At least it should have been a yellow card. But that was just from a fan's view, but we were far away, so...
Was it a red card or no card, though? Because if you're going to card him, it's violent conduct, then it should be a red card for the action, shouldn't it? And if they're not going to book anyone, it should be a booking for you to Mullin for simulation, shouldn't it? Surely.
Well, he did make contact with him. I don't know. I think there's a grey area in between, isn't there? And the ref could say, right, it's not violent conduct, but it was aggressive. I think that's one of those where your opinion is going to differ, and that's the beauty of it, and that's why VAR, in a way, just adds that soap opera of we all argue about stuff. VAR, the media before it was brought in, tried to make out, it'll get rid of all controversies. No, it won't. VAR will create more controversies. Football's a matter of opinion.
It's the nature of the game.
Yeah, when a foul is on, judging the amount of contact and whether it's enough to knock somebody over, then it's not like cricket where it's straight line decisions.
No.
So it's always going to be an argument. So I reckon we should just sit back in the deep bath of controversy and enjoy it.
And we have the conversation every game, don't we? About
there you go. Yeah,
there we go.
I think the refereeing sometimes is part of the fun, isn't it? The bad decisions, the good decisions. It's part of the fun of football for me. Anyway, the controversy. Yeah. Anyway,
absolutely.
Back to the game. 3 ex-Wrexham players playing for Oldham, and I must say they were all excellent, weren't they, Mark?
Yeah, fond of. But what's his deal?
Yeah, exactly. He did nothing for us at Wrexham. Where he got his pace from, I do not know.
Now, to be fair, he did do something for us at Wrexham, but it's his career pattern, isn't it? He arrives somewhere, he makes a good impact. He scored 6 goals in his first 5 games, something like that.
And then he just disappears into oblivion, basically, yeah.
And he's done that at other clubs as well.
Right.
But Oldham he seems to have done in reverse, because he's waited till we've come along.
Yeah.
And like at Chesterfield,
plays the games.
He performed against us, and then again the press was saying beforehand to us, he's not done well for us at all, and yet against us they couldn't believe that he played like that.
Well, a lot of them called him Didier Fondop, didn't they, the fans after it? But yeah, he was an absolute menace.
He was.
It was the first time I've ever seen Tozer and Hayden get manhandled, really, and they look like they really,
he's a big lad, isn't he?
Yeah, they really struggled with him. And let's talk about that first goal, because it was a big Tozer mistake, wasn't it?
Yeah, and unfortunately not the first of the season, but all players make mistakes, and it happened. They scored from it. We move on, and we went on and won the game. But yeah, he has. Whether it's pressure, I don't know. I don't know. With some of his distribution out of defence is sometimes quite debatable as well, but he does a job. 95% of the time he's a really good player. He's solid. Along with Hayden, those centre two are fantastic, but occasionally he just has a poorer game, shall I say.
Well, I've got to weigh it in favour of Tozer there, though. I think he makes the odd error here and there. I think he started the season a little slowly, but he still played well, and some of his passing really opens things up as well, like the chance at Notts County where he pings it to Jordan Davis, who nearly scores early on.
No, I'm just picking on that one game. He did have a couple of errors. His distribution was a bit poor at times, but all players do that. But that because the pressure was on us. They were attacking us all the time. The
ironic thing is that Fondop scores a screamer.
Yeah.
And otherwise we wouldn't really be too focused on Tozer, I think, from that.
No.
And to be fair to Oldham, wasn't that a gloriously sort of sharp finish from winning it on the halfway line to getting it to Fondop to slam it in the bottom corner? Fantastic.
And from a way out as well.
Yeah, brilliant finish. And he catches Howard out. Some people blamed Howard, not at all. Fabulous finish. Hits it so early and so cleanly and so accurately. By the time Howard's set, it's gone past him.
And if I remember rightly, it bounced just before hits the net. So that's really horrible for a goalkeeper to save. A hell of a goal, and he had that other chance, didn't he, in the second half? Where Hayden, he was out muscling Hayden and Toes, and he struck it just above
the post.
Past the post as well. So he was a real nuisance, and so was Tollett as well. I thought he looked excellent. He's shown some real defensive quality which he didn't show at Wrexham. He's got a lot of pace.
But it was Elliot Lee was the key player, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In terms of when he came on, we made him man of the match on half an hour's work because he changed it completely, and he was brilliant.
And the change of shape, I think, was genius by Phil Parkinson. I really do. I think Elliot Lee coming on, he just dictated the pace of the game, and you could still, and then the latter end of the game, I'd say from 70 minutes onwards, you could see Oldham starting to tire, couldn't you?
It's his confidence, I think, as well. Without he's happy to take on players, and he's got that small lad, but he's a chunky lad, but he's got pace as well, and he'll take on the defence, which is great to see, which I've complained about a lot of Wrexham players, they will not take on the final player. They'd rather go the reverse option and pass it back, but Lee is fantastic, in going forward. And a great addition to the squad, and I think him as a player will just improve as the season goes on.
And good in the air as well. He had that headed chance, didn't he? That was a hell of a technique from that far out to force a save. But what I want to talk about now is that first goal. Elliot Lee, that assist was magical, and I don't think people are talking about it enough. I think that goal is going to be very underrated this season.
Well, as Humphrey Carr said in his weekly column, Tozer finished like a 30-goal-a-season striker. But the weight on that pass, it was so crowded in that penalty area, the weight on that pass from Lee was absolute perfection, wasn't it? The positioning of Carragher, Jamie Carragher's son, was awful, and I don't know why he was doing, daydreaming, and then suddenly realised where he was and sprinted in. But that gave Tozer the chance to sidestep and overshoot, make him overshoot, and bang, that chance was there then.
I think the build-up as well to the goal was really good as well, I think.
Yeah. And it's all credit to Tozer for me, because he wasn't having the best of games. And then he gets an opportunity and he scores. And Neil, what was it like in that away end? Because watching it from where we were, for me, it was a nice experience, and it was just, it was crazy.
I must say, the fans were fantastic. The support that went there, 2,500, they sang throughout the whole game, and I love having a good sing-song, as you guys know. And I learned some new songs, which was great. But when that first goal went in, it was just sublime. I don't think we could believe it, because I thought it's going to be one of those games where we have chances and we miss them, but then we could see we were right behind. I was right behind the goal, and that strike from Tozer from where he was the keeper was never going to get that. And as you say, the pass to him was perfect, and he just bottom corner the net. And I don't think when you're a away fan, you see the goal going in, and that's it. You just erupt, don't you? And you don't take much notice of what everyone's going on the pitch, and you're just screaming and shouting, and it was just amazing. And the atmosphere after that just built up again, didn't it? Because it built up a notch because we'd equalised, and I think Wrexham fans might have been happy with the 1-1 draw, but no, the team weren't happy with the 1-1 draw, and I think a couple of them have come out and said after the game, that the actual fans spurred them on, because they didn't want to let the fans down, because it was so amazing at that game. And Luke Young, as I've said earlier, is just a fantastic player. Won us the penalty, cool as a cucumber, super Paul Mullin. Penalty spot, was he ever going to miss that? No, great penalty. And then it went absolutely berserk, people jumping everywhere, all over the top of people, and it was just a great atmosphere. And they kept us in 20 minutes after the game as well, and for that whole 20 minutes the fans were singing. It was a lovely environment to be in. There were kids there over the moon, mums, dads, all together, all jumping up and down, hugging each other, and it was just a great experience. I think we should all experience that and go and see a game like that, where you win a game and you're there with your fellow fans. It's just a special feeling.
And it was a special feeling commentating on it, wasn't it, Mark? And let's pull it back to that second, the penalty. What was the defender doing there, Mark? Because there was no real danger. Luke Young was heading it away from goal. It was a bit of a rookie's error, wasn't it? It
was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. What a wonderful thing to do, to have a non-dangerous situation and decide I'm going to kick somebody in the face in the penalty area. I think that's That's football. That's the thing I like most.
But you guys couldn't experience what we experienced as going as fans. You know, you've got to keep very calm. Although I'm sorry, when I commentate,
I think I screamed when the penalty was given.
I can't keep calm when we score. Whether I haven't done many away games, but home games, I just can't keep on my seat. I've got to cheer. It's just automatic. It's built within you, I think.
Well, me and Mark had to be very calm.
That's what I was leading on to, guys.
Because literally not even centimetres away from us was Oldham fans, and a lot of them, in all fairness, and they were very loud. And that's one thing I've got to say. The Oldham support was incredible as well, because we could listen to both, couldn't we? And at times Oldham were out singing us, Wrexham fans were out singing Oldham. It was a real proper atmosphere, and that's what made it special for me. It was the atmosphere, the occasion, the stadium.
But in the Wrexham fans, you couldn't actually hear the Oldham fans. It was strange. You couldn't, even when the Wrexham fans were quiet, the noise coming from the far end of the ground, you could hardly hear them. You could only hear the fans in the lower tier of the new stand who were singing. But, you know, most of the time, all you could hear was the Wrexham fans.
Both fans were bouncing, to be fair. We could hear them.
Mm-hmm. But we generally had a lovely welcome from Oldham as a club, and the fans who were all very friendly. Mm-hmm. Apart from one, Jay.
Well, yeah, it was a bit strange, this. We had this guy literally sitting... He's
like a row in front of us.
A row in front of us, and he was just shouting at us, wasn't he, Mark, throughout the game, sporadically. And I know you noticed, and I noticed, and it was just a bit awkward, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. I loved that.
But it was hilarious, wasn't it? But I like your breakdown of it. Go on, you say it.
Well, it was all a bit, your classic sort of totally irrational football fan, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Every time the Wrexham fan sung a chant which ended in the word Wales, he would just shout, England, back at them. Even though, what difference will that make? People 150 metres away who can't hear you aren't going to be affected by this. You didn't win because you said England afterwards. And all the people around must be thinking...
Perhaps he felt better for doing it,
I'm sure he did. But, it was a bit of a worrying sign. But then, at the final whistle... when he left, he just suddenly started...
introduce himself to you?
Oh, no, they never do that. I've had this happen in the past. They never do that. They know when you're on air that they're safe to say stuff to you, because you're not likely to say, let me stop commentating for a second, we're going to punch a man in the face. So they don't do that. So what he did was he walked along, didn't he? And their row obviously slightly lower than us, and his face was level with my laptop. And he started shouting all sorts into the back of my laptop as if he thought that was a microphone, and he was on air spoiling the commentary. It was great. And so I just felt I had to finish the commentary by saying, I'm sorry everybody, but there's a 60-year-old man standing, he was about 60, standing in front of us, who thinks a laptop is a microphone and is screaming abuse at us. I'm sorry everybody, so it was quite funny, because he could hear me saying that. It made me feel nice. Sorry. I bullied an old man, but then he's the same age as me.
He's probably like 35, wasn't he?
Well, no.
well, that's how they look in Oldham.
He's all, they gave Chay a free pie.
That was my next say. They looked after you very well. That's the first time you've
got
gone
a free
anywhere.
pie, you got a free drink, and he was all Oldham lovely. And now, one bad experience.
Wrexham should learn by example, I think, and perhaps we should have a free pie at Wrexham as well,
Wow, you can dream. I've got to say, me and Mark, we were welcomed so warmly, weren't we, by the Oldham media team. They were brilliant, and the fans as well. And we got chatting to a fan who's been commentating Oldham games from the 60s, wasn't he? And that was really nice to pick his brain and what have you. He was a real character, wasn't he?
He certainly was. But he was a good bloke.
Yeah, he was a good bloke, and I wanted to talk to him after the game, but they scarpered off very quickly. But it was, it was such a, I've got to say, it was my favourite game I've ever commentated on, because it was away, and it was just great to experience from like a third person, watching the Wrexham fans go wild, not being able to go wild myself, and just standing there and watching it, from afar. It was really nice, and it was an amazing game, wasn't it? You won't get many games like that.
No, well, Halifax last season, but there we go.
Yeah, but Halifax last season, I get what you mean, Neil, but
comebacks, basically.
That big atmosphere that Halifax don't bring anymore.
No, they don't.
Oldham bring a good atmosphere, a proper ground, two proper fan bases.
10,000 plus, was it? No, 9,000 on there, which was a great attendance. Their biggest since Was it 2013?
Yeah.
13 against Liverpool in the Cup, so it says a lot about what they thought about, the importance of the game, with Wrexham coming there. So
2 huge crowds, and again, on Tuesday, after this, we're going to talk about that Notts County game.
You have a chewed up half.
I'm Reece Johnson, and you're listening to the Dragonheart radio show.
I just thought I'd talk over a bump there. That's what us pros do. I was taught to do that in California.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah. Waltz showed me how to do that.
Well, from Stockport County last season to Notts County this season, is it going to be another county side that are going to cause us terror this season? Because for me, they were really good on Tuesday, Mark.
They were, but they're not going to finish above us.
No.
And actually, if I'm honest, after watching that game, even though I was disappointed at how it happened, I didn't shake my notion that we'll finish comfortably ahead of them, because they can't defend.
No.
Now, we were poor on the day in their half, and we didn't take our chances.
Yeah, we went.
And I admit, Howard had to make some good saves. But for me, that game is about us not starting well. First 20 was poor, and then after that, we controlled the game to a great extent. The fact we had to go at them and they were good on the break meant that they made chances, but we could have scored 3 or 4 easily. And if they defend like that all season, they will let a lot of goals in.
I totally agree with you, Mark. I thought we were the better team, especially in the second half, and just poor finishing on our part was what cost us the game.
No, I disagree with you there. Notts County were by far the better side for the majority of the game, in my personal opinion. They had the majority of the ball. We were just hoofing it over the top, looking for Palmer and Mullin. At times we looked very desperate, and Notts County looked the superior side on the day.
I on the balance of the whole game, because they had the first 20 all to themselves, I accept that. I just feel that, we left the back door open more and more as the game went on, because we were trying to drive forwards. But nonetheless, I thought we made some fabulous chances. I mean, look at the Oldham game. We're delighted with the Oldham game. But it's only because we weren't spectacular in the second half. We dominated, made chances, and got there in the end. Whereas the Notts County game was sort of similar in a way.
I'm not massively. I like that what happened in the Oldham game was amazing. That's what it's all about, being a football fan. But I'm not happy with the performance against Oldham, because I think Oldham are a good side, but I don't think they're that good. And we made real hard work of it. And we played Notts County. And I think at times they were just passing a lot better than us.
Oh, yeah.
Ruben Rodriguez was tearing us to pieces at times.
But Neil kept saying in the commentary that we didn't pressure the ball enough in the first 25 minutes.
And that was our biggest problem. Our tactics were totally wrong in the first 25 minutes. But as soon as we changed that, the swing of the game, moved, or the pendulum moved more to Wrexham, and Palmer missed a sitter where he should have passed it to Mullin in the first half, and vice versa. Mullin again should have passed to Palmer, and he had no open goal. If they hadn't been so selfish, it would have been 1-1 half time, and we had plenty of chances in the second half. I put that again. I
don't know why Palmer took a shot there. He didn't really have the best of games, I don't think, against Notts County. I don't want to be too harsh. He should have laid it on to Mullin, but saying that, Mullin may have, the way the game was going, Mullin may have missed anyway. So it was just one of them. It was a tough watch at times, though, wasn't it?
I would have said, a draw would have been a
great result.
Yeah. Well, it would have been on the performance of the game of both sides. I'd have said that would have been, a draw would have been happy for both teams. They'd have both been happy with the performance. As a Wrexham fan, it's disappointing to lose. We know what it's like to lose, but I was happy with their second half performance. You've got to think we're away. That's our second away game in 3 days. We had to go away again. I was generally happy with our performance in the second half. We brought on the same 3 subs, mixed it up a bit. Maybe didn't work as well as it did against Oldham. Perhaps County were a little bit fitter than Oldham were. But I thought we played far, far better, and we should have scored. Yeah, Howard made some good saves, but their keeper made some good saves as well. So balance of play, I think it should have been a draw, but I'm sure County are over the moon to have beat us. It's a long way to go yet. We're only, 12 games into the season. Who cares if we lose to Notts County or whether we lose to Torquay early part of the season? It's what happens towards the back end of the season where these teams will start to fall away, injuries, suspensions, and we've got the squad there in depth to bring in players if we need to, and I think that is what is going to dictate this season this year.
And I think if a big team comes in for, is it Langstaff, their striker? They're not going to be able to say no to good money, are they? Where we've got the money to say no to the, people trying to pull Mullin and Palmer. And if a team wants to sign Mullin or one of our Jordan Davis, our top players, they're going to have to pay top money, aren't they?
Yeah, there's rumours that Cardiff were after Jordan Davis, but nothing to materialise about that. So.
Yeah.
I think that was rumour more than reality.
Maybe.
But the thing is, Langstaff, is it 16 goals in 12 games?
Yeah, and he came down from, where did he come from? Gateshead. Both parents came from Gateshead. So that's been fantastic for him,
There will be football.
But how long can they continue with that?
Well, I think you carry on for the whole rest of the season. Why not?
You've got to have the people behind you as well to provide that.
Well, he's got Ruben Rodriguez, who's
but it only takes one injury,
Yeah, that could be the same for us as well.
But we've got plenty of good players to come in and replace that injured player.
I'm just saying, I think Tuesday was a bit of a wake-up call to a lot of Wrexham fans who think we're just gonna roll this league over and we're gonna be winning by 20 points clear. I think if we slip up at any point, we're gonna have Notts County and Chesterfield right behind us, who are fantastic sides.
I think there's a lot of fans out there thought we were going to run away with this league, and if you're a true football fan, it's never going to be that simple, apart from a few Man City maybe, but they have their slip-ups as well. But no, I didn't go into the season think we're going to win every game and be 20 points.
We didn't, but a lot of fans do.
Yeah, and a lot of fans still do. But it's football. Things can happen. It could be bad refereeing. It could be all kinds of things. But to have only lost 2 games so far out of 12, we're in a far better place than we were this time last season. I think the football is far more entertaining, especially at home. Where we look invincible, and they've got to come to us. If we lose away, fair enough to them. They've got to come to us. We beat them. Well, it evens it all up. So they're not 3 points ahead of us. Yeah. We're equal basically. So it's a home and away season where we've all got to go home and away, and I think the season will tell, and we will be comfortable winners, I think, by the end of the season.
I'm delighted to announce that Carl FM have got the rights for live coverage of the middleweight fight between Chay and the trash talking's been brilliant.
Well, Mark, though we lost to Chesterfield and to Notts County, I actually think getting those 2 games out the way now, I'd rather play and lose them now than play them in the latter end of the season where it could really dent our confidence. Losing to these 2 teams, there's no shame in it at all, is there?
Well, no. I mean, if you look at it, those 2 look like being the main contenders to us. We've now got the 2 toughest games of the season out of the way in that case then, and we are 2 points ahead of Chesterfield, so what good did beating us do them? And we're only 1 point behind Notts County. Both those teams have got to come to the racecourse where we're outstanding.
And what did Chesterfield do on Tuesday? They went and lost again.
Yeah, and this is the thing, I in some regard, is it doesn't matter if we lose to Chesterfield and Notts County again. No. If they carry on losing to other teams that we're thrashing.
It's a whole season with 46 games.
But I also do think there's going to be some other contenders. I think Bromley are going to be dark horse. I think they're looking really good at the moment.
To win it, though, I don't know.
No.
But maybe good enough to take points off us.
Well, yeah.
And Bournemouth, maybe.
It's
the way I'm looking at it is what teams are good enough to finish above us.
Yeah. I think the only one so far is Notts County.
I see one fewer than you, if I'm honest.
I know, and I think that means we'd have to really slip up. I really do.
Yeah.
But that's not out the realm of possibility in football either.
And Notts County could do exactly the same.
Yeah.
Have 5 or 6 defeats on the trot.
I 100% agree. But
we'll just, if we get a bit of a wobble, we'll buy Erling Haaland.
or his dad.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe not his dad. No.
But well, I'm not.
I know you took it hard on Tuesday.
I took it hard because I thought I take every loss hard, and
we all do, but it all comes out in different ways in this,
And it's chuffed out 20 quid on that council winning one day.
I usually sleep on it, and then I usually think, that's not actually
still great
too bad.
Isn't it, that we lost?
Yes and no.
It will all be rectified tomorrow.
Hopefully.
It will be.
But back to the Notts County game, Mark. And I think we need to talk about Mark Howard. I think we need to have a little bit of appreciation for him, because for me, he was excellent. Some of the saves he made.
Yeah.
it was just really good to watch, wasn't it?
He was superb, wasn't he? He had no chance with the goal, but goodness me, those saves. I mean, that one after 90 seconds where he's gone down to his left and saved it, and then it's been hit straight back in, and he's managed to get his foot to the second shot. I mean, fair play to him, but he was absolutely outstanding, wasn't he? And, you know, the number and quality of saves he made. And again, his distribution does ask questions. Sometimes you release it early, gives Mullins something to chase, and it can cause problems. So, no, he's really starting to settle and show his value now, but that was an outstanding performance.
And I think that's happened with a lot of our players. They seem to be improving as our game goes on. I mean, he had a couple of 2 or 3, maybe, can I say, dodgy games at the beginning of the season?
Yeah,
maybe?
but that Chesterfield game, disastrous, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Beastly game as well, yeah.
And he's improved dramatically. You know, I think Palmer's improved dramatically. So many of our players have improved as our season is going on. I think that will be the case, you know, throughout the season. Confidence is a big thing.
Okay, I have a bit of a controversial question now. Rob Lainton's fully fit and Mark Howard's fully fit. Who do you pick?
If we're still winning, I'll keep Howard in goal.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I suppose the point of having a goalkeeper to put pressure on the goalkeeper is that if Howard's playing well, he probably doesn't lose his place. But Lainton is there to put pressure on him. I was fascinated watching Welcome to Wrexham yesterday, and not just because of me, but because of the although, if I'm honest, it was mostly because of me. Now I'm thinking about it. It was 95% me, but then 5% Rob Lainton being told by a specialist that his career could be over. That was really something, that was. Especially because he made a joke about it, which I thought, okay, that's the gallows humour of the goalkeeper. But it was it'd be brilliant to see him back, but Howard has the position. It's his to lose now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if you were Howard and Leighton come back as fit and they dropped you and put Leighton in goal, I think you'd be really upset, wouldn't you, if you brought Leighton in instead of Howard.
Yeah, but having Leighton coming back would be good for Howard as well, because, you know, if he has a few games where he makes a few mistakes, then Leighton could be slotted straight in, which I do think you don't switch a goalkeeper willy-nilly. I think that's the one position you don't really play with, isn't it, Mark, really?
I'm inclined to say that, but they're both safe pairs of hands. Pun not intended. So I wouldn't feel overly concerned. The defence we got now is essentially, apart from Ford, the same. Well, the wing backs, but then they're not really all the time defending. The back three is the same as what you had before. We know it works well with Lainton, so I wouldn't be overly worried either way. But there's no reason, you know, as a professional, if Howard did nothing wrong and then got dropped, he would have every right to turn around and say, well, why have I been dropped? Why has that happened? So,
and you wouldn't be happy at all, would you?
No, not at all.
Not at all. And prior to that, we just signed, you know, Scott Butler.
Yeah.
Young lad coming into the club, you know, come back to Wrexham from Swansea, signed till the end of the season, which is, you know, just buffering up our defence again. He's done well in the reserves that he's played in. He's been made captain. So, you know, it's be another, you know, another bit of backup if we have problems in the back.
And it'd be interesting to see Tunnicliffe have a start as well at some point.
Well, it's remarkable we brought in a player of Tunnicliffe's quality, because I've always really liked him, and he can't get on the pitch, so that's remarkable. But also, like I said, Butler is a talented centre-back. It would seem that certainly the club are happy with him. Having brought him in, I think they feel, you know, he fits in well. He was a Wrexham youth product anyway. I think they're glad to have him back. I mean, you know, in terms of giving him a contract, okay, we've given a few youth players contracts, which we never used to do, so it might not be we're looking at having him in the first team necessarily, but we're giving him that chance to show what he can do. I do think they feel that he was, you know,
now we've got the reserves up and running, which makes a huge difference. It gives him game time. It may not be every week, but, you know, we can, you know, Parkins can see how they're playing and what they do now on the pitch in the reserves.
I think they feel there's a level of maturity in the way he plays that shows that he's gone off to Swansea's academy and picked a lot of good habits up, and then has come back and it potentially could develop into something.
And who knows, if there's injuries, he may he might have to play.
When you think what happened to Hayden last season, we lost, and that's when we seemed to struggle after Hayden went off injured for the last 3 or 4 games of the season.
But just capping off this segment now. After Notts County, we're going into Barnet now. It feels like a bit more of a bigger game coming from a loss now, doesn't it, Mark? Really.
Yeah, but we're still second, 1 point off top. I don't feel too concerned by that. I mean, the thing is that our home fans' form is fantastic.
Yeah.
We just need to go and do that again. The players are so confident when they set foot on that pitch at the racecourse. They expect to win, don't they?
Yeah.
And Barnet started well.
Our last home game, we came from a poor draw away at Southend, 0-0. We were lucky to get a point there, and then battered Torquay 6-0 in our next home game. So I can't see anything different. As I said to Mark beforehand, I think I heard on the radio on the way in that Barnet have conceded 13 goals in the last 3 games.
Dodgy Barnet.
Yeah. Well, and what did we put past them last time we played? Was it 6 we put past
6
them?
last time, yeah. They started the season really well.
They did, yeah.
But I think they're regressing to the norm now. They were awful last season. They were absolutely shocking last season. And, on paper, I wasn't that impressed with the business they did in the summer. They changed things around a bit, but I wasn't totally convinced of the players they were bringing in. And I think they've had a nice start, but it's starting to drift back to where they should be now, I think.
But one of our toughest games this season was Eastleigh at home, wasn't it? If they make it a physical affair and a game full of gamesmanship and what have you, like Maidenhead last season as well. They make it tough. You never know what can happen. I'm confident that we'll win because we're a cracking side, but you never know. It's one hell of a tough league. Anyway, after this, we're going to be talking about our rivalry, or is it not a rivalry, with Tranmere.
I'm Kerry Evans, and you're listening to Dragonheart Radio Show.
Evenings on Callan FM.
Ian Rush, Neville Southall, Rob Page, Adrian Childs, Griff Rhys, Johnny Owen, and many, many more are going to be in Wrexham this November for the world's first ever global festival of all things footy. Over 30 screenings, gigs and activities including retro board games, Xbox, VR, street football, book signings and panel discussions with authors and journalists, music, gigs and performances. The 11th, 12th, 30th November, live, breathe, dream football at the Wild Grove Festival in Wrexham. If you can't get the Qatar, then Wrexham is the place to be, and beer will be widely available during all 3 days.
Paid stopio dysgu. Agar yn cyrsiau ar-lein a gwyneb yn wyneb, does dim rhaid I ti. Yn ystod wythnos addysg oedolion eleni, mae modd cymryd rhan mewn cyrsiau byr am ddim a sesiynau blasu I roi cynnig ar rhywbeth newydd. Be bynnag sy'n dy siwto di. Os wyt ti eisiau codi dy hyder, gwella dy lesiant, neu ddatblygu dy sgiliau I gael swydd newydd. Cymer ran yn wythnos addysg oedolion I ddysgu rhywbeth newydd. Chwilia Cymru'n gweithio. Wythnos addysg oedolion.
If you bought a timeshare in Spain or the Canaries, you may have been missold and could be owed compensation. Text TIME to 78900 to find out more.
Do you feel like your business is being seen and not heard? From T Pawb to T Mawr, Coed Poeth to Kevin Bay, we can reach an engaged local audience. Maybe it's time to try radio advertising. We offer effective and affordable packages to suit your business and budget. Find out more on our website. Search Calon FM today. From the heart of your community, your town, your station, your voice. This is Callan FM.
Well, Tranmere is we're carrying on our rivalry section. We're going to be talking about Tranmere today. Is it a rivalry? Is it not a rivalry? Neil seems to think it's not one. I seem to think it's one of our bigger games. I'd say it's as big as Shrewsbury, really. Neil, go on, argue your case.
I've never seen them personally as a local rivals. Yes, whether they come to us or we go to them, because it's close, what is it, it's 25 mile away maybe? Mm-hmm. We've always taken a good following there and they've always been a good following to us, but I don't think there's that rivalry like you get with Shrewsbury, the local team, and Chester, the local team. There was a lot of banter when we last went over there and played them when they were in the National League, and we beat them 1-0 with 10 men on the pitch. I can't remember who got sent off, but it was early in the first half. We went down to 10 men, and
Wedgbury fouling Jay Harris.
That's right, yeah. And the atmosphere there was great, but I've never felt that niggle between both the fans where they're looking for a...
I don't know.
No?
I don't know. I've seen it being quite nasty at times.
I've experienced it firsthand.
Yeah.
Now here's a tale. when I was in university, I was in Liverpool. And so Andy, who'll be commentating the game tomorrow, he came over to stay, because Wrexham were playing Tranmere on the Friday night. And so we thought, yeah, that's great. We'll go to the game and
get the train over.
Yeah. So we got the train from Liverpool to Tranmere, watched the game, we lost. And then after the match, all the Wrexham fans, of course, walk in one direction to Hamilton Square or whatever. We're going back to Liverpool, so we're heading to Rock Ferry. And Andy, understandably, got a bit edgy because it did feel a bit Tranmere round there, you know. There was a sense of, something can happen. And Andy, if you're listening, I'll never forget this. And I'll never forgive you. He suddenly shouted, "Run!" And we sprinted like crazy for about 70 yards down the straight road. And I didn't dare to look around me because I'm thinking there's going to be all these psychos. Every second counts, you know. I mean, that's the one lesson I did learn from Paul Daniels. So we got to the corner and then we span it around. And I stopped. We're panting. I looked around the corner, took the empty street. There was nothing there. He just panicked and started, "Run!" And I did. No, but I always found it quite edgy, Tranmere matches.
But you can find that at any club you go to.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially, I mean, I remember going to watch Derby County, the old baseball ground, and the way supporters had to walk through. It's like a tunnel.
But Tranmere is really close, isn't it?
I know it's close.
It's really close, and we've had some really fiery games.
It depends where you've got a huge contingent of both home and away fans, you know. Derby, that was horrible. I went to Wembley with London. That was with Wrexham. Wales. That was horrible. This has gone back to the 80s, you know. But I would see more Port Vale because it's always to me much more of a niggle between Port Vale and Wrexham.
I've seen it kick off in both.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Tranmere as well is that we had that pre-season friendly game, didn't we, about 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Where because we hadn't played each other much, the police seemed to think that there wouldn't be any bother.
Yeah,
and we put all the fans in one stand, and there was terrible problems.
Yeah, I was
so I would see Tranmere
as happen with any club.
Well, true.
No,
but
right. Is Stockport a rivalry?
Definitely so.
So why is Tranmere not and Stockport is?
It depends what kind of rivalry you're looking at. Me, I don't see it. Maybe the hooligan element of any club would see it as a rivalry. I don't see it as a rivalry. I think our main rivalry we want to beat are Shrewsbury and Chester.
And MK Dons, let's be honest. MK Dons, I hate them.
Or Salford. Yeah. But no, for me, I see it as growing up, I seen it as Wrexham and Tranmere. So I think I felt the Tranmere games are more spicy than the Shrewsbury games, personally.
Mm-hmm. Is it also sort of generational amongst football fans in that? So. I mean, I'm thinking when I was a teenager, Wrexham were on the up because we got promoted under Brian Flynn. Mm-hmm. Next season, Crewe come up. This already Tranmere and Stockport had gone up, and the four of us were all in League One, all contending for the playoffs, and all those games had a lot of gravity about them, and they just felt like really big games. But then, when I was younger, Crewe and Tranmere were a bit of a joke. Yeah. They were always down the bottom of the 4th division. You wouldn't care about the games against them because you're always going to beat them, you know. They'd bring 20 fans. Yeah. You know, things change with time.
I remember when I was a kid and they beat us 5-1 at home, and they brought a whole stand full of fans, and they were outsung us for the whole game, and Xavi Valero had an absolute mare. See, I always look back at that and thinking, wow, Tranmere is such a big club and this is such a big rivalry. And then throughout the National League years, when they were in the National League as well, I found those games to be quite, especially the home games as well, to be quite spicy as well. So,
you know, there've been times when they've spanked us like that. There've been fantastic times for us as well. The win in the FA Trophy when we stuck 4 goals past them was fantastic. Sean Holmes is once in a lifetime screamer from about 35 yards when he usually couldn't hit the back a barn door was amazing. And my favourite Tranmere memory was a game, in the 80s, where we were losing 3-1 to them and we were terrible. And then we came back at them, got it to 3-2. We really threw in the kitchen sink at them at the end, and the ball went into their goal mouth, and a Tranmere player panicked and smashed it clear, and it would have been perfect, except that unfortunately for him, our long long-haired, erratic winger, Graham Cooper, was running towards the box, and he smashed a clearance straight into Graham Cooper's face, and so hard that it span over Eric Nixon, the Tranmere keeper, and into the net, and we drew 3-3. And I found that recently on YouTube. I'll have to put it in the description of the podcast and things like this. It's just beautiful. He just turns around and thumps it into his face, sends him flying, but it goes in. Beautiful.
And they're a club that I think, as well, the fans have mutual respect for each other. At the Chester game, there's not much mutual respect, is there, between Wrexham and Chester? Let's be fair.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
that's true.
That would be my.
That's the big one. That's the big one, isn't it?
Wrexham, yeah.
And I'd say then, you've got Tranmere, Shrewsbury, Newport, people like that as well. I see as big games, but Tranmere, we shared a lot of players, haven't we? I think we.
That's true. Yeah.
We're two very big clubs, and there's a lot of I respect Tranmere as a club, but I don't particularly like them. I think that's
they are
that's
a
how I
big
look
club,
at it.
but so are we. I mean, I started watching Wrexham when we had 20,000 plus a year, at the racecourse. So, we can only hope we see that again some point in the near future. But I think the club's going to go from strength to strength. But going back to the rivalry, I've had more problems going to Port Vale whenever I've gone there than ever going to Tranmere.
To me, Port Vale is
it
off-pitch rivalry, because it often seems to be nasty incidents.
Yeah, it does.
I've never felt that Port Vale was a derby myself ever. It's just like a normal game to me, and yet there seems to be an element of both slots.
There's a niggle there.
There's a lot of fringe ones. There's like Crewe as well, isn't there? And then there's Stockport, of course, and Luton as well from the past as well, in past seasons.
Kings Lynn.
Kings Lynn, that's a touchy subject.
Bit of feeling on that one.
Good luck to John Ponticelli. I've listened to his podcast on interview on Fearless and Devotion. It's well worth a listen. Great guy. But yeah,
I love how Chay always advertises the other side.
There's nothing wrong with that. We're all.
I know there isn't, but I like to. I've got to try and get involved in the fist fight somehow, haven't I?
we should do a podcast Royal Rumble. I have a feeling that we'd win.
Totally up to that. We destroyed them. I'm Disney's Mark Griffiths. I mean, what can you say? They'll be starstruck, won't they?
Oh yeah. This is the guy who's definitely going to get free passes to Disney World very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And
as long as he remembers us when he's famous, Chay?
Yeah. In fact, I think
I'll remember the little people.
The people that wear Mickey Mouse suits. There's going to be Mark Griffiths, people wearing Mark Griffiths suits.
I think quite possibly.
Walking around Disneyland Paris very soon.
I'm a little disappointed that we didn't have the gold microphone as arranged before the broadcast, and I could walk out.
You've had to settle for silver. Yeah.
Oh, shocking. Well, it's black, actually.
It's black.
It's right in front of you, Chay. We're not doing this on Zoom.
Oh, yeah. But yeah.
I can get a gold muff.
It's not that type of show.
Well, we're getting to the end of the show now, so after
felt like it, didn't it?
After this, we're going to wrap up the show.
I'm Rhys Johnson, and you're listening to the Dragonheart radio show.
Well, this week marked the 5-year anniversary of the death of a legendary Wrexham fan, Jacko, the king of the cop. Everyone has a story about him, and, a true Wrexham legend, wasn't he, Neil?
He was Mr. Wrexham, he was always stood there in the middle of the Kop. He was that's where I grew up watching football, was on the Kop, and he was always there getting the fans going, singing. He was the first one to sing. He had a great sense of humour, he liked his pints, but yeah, he was Mr. Wrexham. He always got the fans singing, and he sang, was it in the male voice choir as well, of course. So not only could he sing at the choir, but he was our main singer at the club, getting the fans going. I think a lot of the young fans have a lot of respect for him as well, because, of the atmosphere he created at the games. But yeah, he's sadly missed, taken off this earth like many too early. But a great lad, a great Wrexham supporter, travelled all over the country watching him What was your thoughts, Mark? Did you ever meet the chap?
Of course, absolutely. Lovely bloke, real, enthusiast. I always liked, they said about being in the choir, and my understanding was that he would bring some of his mates sometimes from the choir. They would practice something. I always remember on a very hot day away to Bristol City when they played at Bath City's ground. Dreadful match. We got battered. We all got sunburns because it was an open terrace. But the wonderful, surreal standout was that they'd practiced a rap version of The Lord's My Shepherd, which they were singing in the away end. And this is like, what's this got to do with football? This is everything about following football. This is just those mad memories that you recall, I also remember him starting off when I was a whippersnapper. When I was just a gleam in Walt's eye, going on the cop. And one of the chants which he was behind was if you've only got one arm, clap your hands. And it was wonderful because all these away fans, I find it boring, all these generic football chants. Everyone just sings the same song which changes the words, put their team's name in. And we would do something different. And I always just think the away fans must be so confused when we'd all be singing, if you've only got one arm, clap your hands. And then you just raise one arm and pretend to be clapping. And it was just glorious, that sort of thing. He was
a real character.
Not just committed, but original.
Yeah.
And we could be 2-0 down and he'd be getting the crowd going. There'd be no one there. It'd be a cold Tuesday night and he'd be the guy getting everyone going. And I don't think the atmosphere has been quite the same since he passed.
His voice is so distinctive. You'll hear it anywhere on the ground. You can hear him starting everybody up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so sad to me because it would have been great for him to see what the club has become because... Imagine the atmosphere of him involved now. I don't think the crowd would stop singing.
I can remember him standing on the front, on the hoarding at the front, getting the fans going, and singing, and actually virtually orchestrating him from the front and singing them. He was such a character. As you say, on a cold windy night in February on Tuesday night, I remember going and watching Halifax there with it was like 1,200 fans in the whole ground, but he was there, getting the fans, whoever few there were on the cop them days, going and singing and creating as much of an atmosphere as he could. He was a real character, and great for Wrexham football for fans, and introducing the next generation of singers on that cop.
Yeah, he's truly still missed this day, and the atmosphere has never been the same. But that's the show today, guys. Please tune into the commentary on Wrexham Player Saturday against Barnet if you're not going to the game. There's the hot take right after the game if you want to listen to our initial views. There's the final whistle a day after.
Sorry, what's that in Welsh, sorry?
Oh, yeah, of course. And
I thought he was saying it. I thought he was saying the final whistle. He opted for not the English version.
There's the Welsh podcast. There's also... If you live in America and you want to get that little bit of fan experience, there's the AAA as well that comes out midweek, and the highlights which Mark works really hard on. So, and there's Dragonheart every week here on Calon and on YouTube. Woo! But get all this stuff in, listen to it. Anyway, thank you very much. This has been Dragonheart.